হ্যালো,
Assalamu alaikum.
ওয়ালাইকুম সালাম ভাই, কি অবস্থা?
Alhamdulillah, everything is good. How about you?
আলহামদুলিল্লাহ, ভালো আছি।
Okay, thank you.
আচ্ছা,
So let's go. We'll start our today's session. Okay, so let me share my screen. And after the class, I will send you the Google Classroom invitation. So in the
okay,
Google Classroom, you can get all of this material, all of code, all of practice code. Okay, you can easily get it from here. No problem.
ইনশাআল্লাহ।
Okay, so let me share my screen.
ওকে,
Can you see my screen?
ওকে,
Basically, you enroll our online training program on water quality monitoring using remote sensing technique with Google Earth Engine. Okay, so in this online training program, I will try to complete all of those. I hope, inshallah, all of those will be completed step by step. We try to discuss, okay, and I hope you can easily monitor the water quality using remote sensing technique very efficiently. Okay, and there are a lot of uses. We try to discuss all of those step by step. I hope you can easily get the idea. So in this online training program, first of all, I discuss about that course syllabus, mainly what you will learn. And it's our private training session, only one-to-one. We take this class. And first of all, we discuss about that introduction to remote sensing for water quality monitoring, mainly gain a solid foundation in remote sensing principle and their application to water quality. Then we discuss about the different types of water quality parameters such as turbidity, with time series chart, learn to analyze turbidity over the time and assess the impact of the water clarity and quality. Then monitoring the chlorophyll with temporal analysis. Again, then monitoring the total suspended solid with time series and monitoring the salinity index for water. Understand how to access the monitor and salinity in the various water bodies. We also discuss about the BOD, mainly biological oxygen demand. Learn to evaluate the oxygen demand of the water bodies essential for assessing their water health. Then also discuss about the COD, mainly chemical oxygen demand. Then also discuss about the pH of water. Okay, then time series for all parameter, how to monitor for temporal analysis. As well as we also discuss about the one another topic. It's mainly Google Earth Engine web application. We try to learn how to create Earth Engine apps. And these apps, how I can use it for globally to monitor the water quality parameters, real time water quality monitoring apps, how we can easily develop, and then how to use this type of app for real time water quality monitoring. As well as also discuss about the in-situ data for accuracy assessment for all parameter. Suppose from your ground truth data to enhance the accuracy of your remote sensing analysis. As well as discuss about the algae volume, how to detect the algae volume or harmful algae volume. And also we'll discuss about the some correlation analysis. Suppose algae volume with temperature, precipitation, or speed, wind speed, and also creating the water quality of application using the Google Earth Engine. We also discuss about that. And I will give you all of materials, all of slide, all of you can easily get it inshallah from Google Classroom. Okay. So let's go. So first of all, okay. First of all, we discuss about this some research topic on Google Earth, mainly remote sensing for water quality. So first of all, I try to show you some paper. Okay, and day by day, new technology is adding. Okay, for the water quality monitoring. So okay, so let's go start one by one and discuss about this type of scientific paper also. Okay, then you can get the idea. So first of all, inland water quality, suppose lake or pond. So this type of place we can find out the inland water, and we can easily use the satellite imagery in the inland water, as well as also use the in-situ observation for operational lake monitoring. Okay, suppose this is my water body area. Okay, so in this water body area, I can easily use the satellite imagery, Landsat or Sentinel-2 satellite imagery, or others high for spectral satellite imagery we can easily use. and also take some sample. Suppose from this type of place, I simply take some sample and I create the in situ data. Suppose different type of parameter, POD, TSS, COD, then temperature. So different types of data I can easily collect from this inland water, okay, with their GPS location, with the GPS location. If I show you the some data, so this I already have. Suppose let me open. Suppose some in situ data, water data. Just I open a CSV file. So in this CSV file, if you check, I already have some data for my specific geolocation. So I have this type of data, mainly chlorophyll, A concentration. I have also some mainly date and time, then depth information. Then I have geolocation, suppose latitude and longitude value. Then say a depth we also have, and site name, as well as I also have the TSS information, okay, for this specific coordinate. Then turbidity information. Okay, so not only for that, we can easily collect different types of water quality parameters from this type of latitude and longitude, a specific geolocation. Okay, and further this type of data we can easily integrate with Google Earth Engine and do the different way and create the different types of model. Okay, and monitor the whole inland water body pollutant map. We can easily create. Okay, we can easily create the whole land water pollutant map. So if you check, so this is the one kind of map for the water quality. So it's display the, suppose it's, I think it's a different, the normalized difference chlorophyll index. So based on the chlorophyll, it identify which types of place water is high polluted based on the chlorophyll. Based on the chlorophyll, so we find out this type of color indicating about that high polluted, and you can see this type of color indicating the normal, okay, or less chlorophyll. So this type of things we can easily generate using remote sensing and identify where is the high concentration of the pollution and where is the low concentration of the pollution. You can also get this type of things. So we try to discuss all of this step by step. Here we can easily get the idea. So okay, so first of all, when you work with inland water, basically any pond or any lake, then we need the in situ data to create the more better model, in situ observation, and also satellite images. We can easily get it from the Google Earth Engine or other sources. Okay. So then the fundamental rule: if every inland water body is optical unique, there is no universal, no size fits all algorithm. So we can easily use the satellite or sensor to get the continuous. So we can create the continuous for every water body pixel data for chlorophyll or total suspended solid. We can easily use the satellite imagery. Okay. But when you work with only for suppose a specific geolocation, suppose you can take the training sample for the specific ground truth, then we can get the mainly it's a uncontinuous. It's uncontinuous. But when I just use this type of data using the satellite imagery, then we can get the continuous map. And we find out the every water pixel information or every place of water. We can get the idea where is the polluted and where how much polluted. Okay, this type of things we can easily integrate with in situ data and also satellite imagery. And evaluating the remote sensing for inland water bodies. So first of all, systematic strength. So historical continuity, we find out that long-term imagery we can easily access. Suppose we can easily get the all of imagery long-term. Suppose Landsat, Sentinel, MODIS, we can easily get the all of historical imagery, and we can easily apply this type of model on our historical different types of imagery and get the result. And satellite image is the free and open source data. We can easily get all of satellite data freely. Landsat, Sentinel, MODIS, okay. And we can easily widespread operational monitoring. And a spatial scale, it's moderate to high resolution. Sensors are highly appropriate for resolving the complex lake geometries. But also some operational limitation is that shallow water interface. Suppose bottom reflectance severely distorts the water column signals. Okay. Suppose in the shallow water interface, we find out the bottom, this water bottom reflectance severely distorts the water column signals. And spatial thresholds, okay, requires at least 3 pure water pixel away from the shoreline to avoid the land contamination. and atmosphere of abstraction also find out, suppose cloud or haze or aerosol. Okay, so this type of optical sensor we find out that. So this is the one kind of abstraction to use the satellite imagery. And hyper localization, mainly algorithm heavily depend on the specific lake and sensor characteristics. Okay, suppose it's a hyper localization. Suppose one algorithm I can just apply for the one area. Suppose I create the one algorithm for the Dhaka city Hathirjel lake. So this algorithm is only applicable for this lake. I cannot use this algorithm for other water bodies. Okay. So basically, it's called the hyper localization, and algorithms heavily depend on a specific lake and sensor characteristics. And the co-location challenges. So for that, we simply satellite overpass, then also cloud-free condition and in-situ sampling. Okay. So this type of three parameter we need: satellite overpass. Mainly, we need to check the schedule of the image. Suppose I have an image in the 15 January. Okay. So I need to take the training sample on the same date. Okay, same date. So in the 15th January, or a specific image I have. So your in situ sampling date and also your image of satellite image date must be keep same. Okay, try to keep the same. Otherwise, it gets some problem. Okay, suppose I take the training sample on the 15th January. So I take the satellite image on the 15th January. Okay, just same date image. When I get, then it will be more better. It will be more better. So when you work with in situ data training sample, taking the training sample date and also satellite image date must be keep the same. Okay, then we can easily get it data. And the 2 or 4 hour rule, it's called the 2 to 4 hour rule. And to build the statistical significant regression model, field water sample must be collected within a strict 2 or to 4 hour window of a satellite overpass. Okay. And then we are use this type of tool for this. Suppose Google Earth Engine, and also CDAS is also open. It's a NASA Ocean Biology. So Google Earth Engine, we can also process our data as well as also CDAS. So this is another tool. So it's called the, yes, please.
You mentioned 2 to 4 hours window for
Okay, this one. Okay.
Listen.
Okay.
What does that mean? Let me understand.
So basically, it's indicating about the satellite overpass or revisit time of satellite. Okay. Suppose Landsat, we find out that Landsat 16 days. Okay, 16 days. So I take the satellite image for this within this time. Within this time we take the satellite imagery. Okay. Suppose I take the imagery, and it also depend on the time. Okay, satellite image overpass. Suppose when satellite across your area of interest. Okay, so we also find out this time also. Suppose this time I know. Suppose in my study area, satellite it overpass on this time. Then we can also take this imagery. Okay, but we try to take the imagery and in sampling data, in situ data and imagery must keep the same date. Okay, must try to keep the same date. Okay, then it will be more better for your analysis. Suppose I take the imagery 15 January and also take the satellite sampling. I also take the 15 January. So then we can easily overlay and also get the very better image or very better water quality map for that. Okay, but in this
In a nutshell, what do you mean? If I want to take the satellite image, maybe take this thing, maybe on the same day or within the same 2 or 4 hours, I need to go and collect the real water sample.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay. Thank you.
So no, it's just that it's not maybe you collect maybe you take the satellite image today, tomorrow you go and take the in-situ sample. It's not going to give you accurate.
Yes, this one.
Thank you.
And we are use this type of sample, Google Earth Engine, okay, and also CDAS, NASA Ocean Biology. So desktop or command line required the downloading the massive level 1 files. So it's a cloud based. Okay, so you already know about the Google Earth engine, how to work Google Earth engine. So, and this is the CDAS. So it also useful also for water quality monitoring tools. Google Earth engine also use it. Okay, and empirical modeling architecture, we can create some empirical model. Okay, empirical model, basically in this model we simply co-locate in situ data plus satellite surface reflectance. Okay, two data, one data for in situ data. In situ data we collect from our ground water body, and satellite reflectance data we simply take from satellite sensor. Okay, for this type of point location, you simply take the data and further apply the empirical regression. Okay, so and identify y equal to mx plus c. Basically we identify m basically slope value and b basically intercept value. So these two values we simply collect, and further we simply apply this algorithm, statistical algorithm, and coefficient applied the global to enter the lake image. Okay, then we can get that for whole lake water quality map. Okay, so in this case, suppose I take some eight training sample. I collect from the ground 8 training sample. So I simply extract the reflectance value. Suppose Sentinel 2. I extract the reflectance value for the same 8 location. Okay. So further we simply apply the empirical regression model and identify slope value and intercept value. And this model further we apply on our imagery and get the whole area, whole lake water quality map. So further we also discuss about the practical thing with a more better idea. And we can easily use the different types of index for that. You can say the chlorophyll-a. This is the index. So it compared the reflectance of green, blue, and red wavelength band, and also total suspended solid. So logarithm of near minus red divided by logarithm of red. So it based on the principle that suspended particles highly reflected near infrared light. And another is the water clarity. So this one is for red is ratio. So blue divided by red is. So we leverage the unique capabilities of Sentinel-2's spectral band architecture. So basically this band is only available for the Sentinel-2 satellite data. Okay, Sentinel-2 data we find out the red is band. Okay, so that's why when you apply this type of equation, we must use the Sentinel-2. Landsat don't have this type of band red is. So when you work with this type of ratio or red is ratio, okay, for water clarity, then you must use the Sentinel-2. Landsat is not work for that. So not only for that, also other some primary we will discuss further later, or inshallah for other class we also discuss this type of things. And we can import our CSV file. So suppose I have some in-situ data. Okay, I already show you that. So this CSV sampling data we can, okay, it show the QGIS. It also possible. We can import the sampling into QGIS. Okay, and define the longitude and latitude. But if you want, you can easily import the CSV file in Google Earth Engine. We already know about that, how to import. And it show that explain the history file, upload the GIS table. But this approach, if you want, you can directly do it in Google Earth Engine. So I will show you this process. Suppose I have this CSV file, okay, for my water parameters. So this CSV file I want to import in my Google Earth Engine. So how I can import it? So it's very easy. So for that, you simply open a new code editor. So let me show you this process because it's very important for using the in-situ data in our model.